Hey yo, what's good? It's your boy Mixtape Moth, and today I'm gonna hit y'all with a review of the new Big K.R.I.T album entitled Digital Roses Don't Die. Let's get to it. Alright, so Big K.R.I.T is a rapper and producer coming out of Meridian, Mississippi, who is one of the most underrated artists to emerge during the 2010s. Oftentimes, when folks discuss who's the best from that era, K.R.I.T's name gets left out, but in my opinion, he's every bit as great as the big three. That's Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake. Now, this new album, Digital Roses Don't Die, is his fifth full-length studio album and his first release since Krit is Here from 2019, an album that received mixed reviews but was generally looked at by fans as a letdown and below the caliber of Forever Is a Mighty Long Time from 2017, which was a very dope and consistent double album. But this new project is stylistically and sonically very different from every previous Krit project in that it is essentially an R&B album. There's some rapping, but it's minimal. It's an experimental project that feels very Andre 3000, The Love Below inspired, and maybe throwing some CeeLo Green and Silk Sonic. So if you go into this project expecting Krit's standard bass heavy bangers and raw rapping over country rap tunes, then you may be in for a little disappointment. That is not to say that Krit abandons his sound completely, but he does focus more on crafting melodies and slower tempoed production. I know initially I was frustrated until I gave it a chance and accepted that Krit wanted to make a completely different body of work altogether. Now, this thing contains 17 tracks lasting approximately 38 minutes. The only guest appearance is the singer named Rollin A. All of the beats are produced by Big K.R.I.T himself, with the exception of one track and the interludes, which were done by Ashanti Floyd, the mad violinist. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The opener, Fire Interlude, sets a relaxing tone right out the gate with its warm synth heavy production. Track 2, South Side of the Moon, has this soulful and almost doo-wop style beat with some 808s. It's a low-key banger produced by DJ Camper. The hook feels a bit Drake-esque, but it's very catchy and melodic, and Big K.R.I.T is singing like a real R&B singer on the hook, and throughout he's painting a romantic picture while referencing some iconic hip-hop artists like Snoop, Tupac, and the Fugees. As a whole, this one has a dope, mellow vibe with a nice bop. Track 3, Show You Right, has a synth funk instrumental with bright horns and a slick bass line. It's sure to give off that Parliament funkadelic flavor. It's a feel-good and breezy record with that funky bounce. Now, Krit pays homage to influences like 8Ball and MJG, as well as honoring Houston traditions like chopping blades, riding slabs, and swanging. Even though he's singing more than rapping, Krit still feels like a natural in this space. Track 4, Road Clean, is a smooth and carefree anthem about his love for cars. And what would a Big K.R.I.T album be without some references to chrome rims and riding candy paint? It's a complete vibe that doesn't deviate at all from his aesthetic on previous albums, except there's still more of a melody than rapping. After the Earth interlude is Come Out to Play, which has an impressive multi-layered instrumental where Krit is really flexing his growth as a producer. It contains 2 extremely brief verses and a longer instrumental passage towards the end, but overall it's very sublime and sets a mood. The subsequent track, Just For You, is more of a trunk rattler, although it's still centered on the sounds of soul and P-Funk. Here, Krit talks about giving up his Cadillac, his Gators, his tailor-made suits, and even hollering at the boppers, all for the woman that he loves. It's a romantic and sappy sentiment, but one of the standouts for me because of the melody and production. Right after, we have the lead single, So Cool, which had received a lukewarm reception, but I feel it sounds much better in the context of the album than just as a loose single. It's a jazzy and wholesome groove that contains the most traditional style rapping on the project. Then, after the water interlude, we have the track Boring, which pretty much is an anthem for all the introverts out there, just like Ace Boogie from the movie Paid in Full, who his girl called boring since he didn't like the nightlife. So if you are more of an introverted type cat, then you might be able to relate to what Krit is talking here. But this has a feel-good, catchy, and upbeat vibe. Now the energy is a bit quirky, but I actually kind of dug it. Track 11 is Would It Matter? So over a funky trumpet-laced beat, Krit asks his girl if she would still love him if he was just an average 9-to-5 guy who would never be able to buy her a Birkin. It's Krit being the down-to-earth and relatable guy that he's always been. He's not caught up in the material trappings as much as other rappers. I mean, the man's only real vices are cars and women. So I like the horns and I could respect the sentiment, but for some reason I didn't love this song. Now, track 12, Generational Weighed Down, is a standout. This finds Krit doing some deep contemplation on fatherhood. He's expressing his anxiety that his children may repeat his mistakes or somehow inherit his sins and end up like a chip off the old block. This has a rich instrumental with sparkling keys, bells, scratching, and an electric guitar, and Krit singing was kind of giving off a faint Stevie Wonder vibe for some reason. But yeah, this one was good for the introspection, the harmonizing, and the impeccable production. Right after the brief wind interlude is the track It's Over Now, which ended up being my least favorite record on the project, as I didn't care for the melody on the hook, nor the melancholy and in your feelings type of lyricism we got from Krit. I'm sure it's not a bad song, but it didn't do too much for me. Track 14 is Wet Lashes and Shot Glasses. This has an intricate and satiny beat. It's another immaculately produced track with great harmonizing. There's also an instrumental shift that keeps us on our toes. I would say musically, this track could have been included on his 2017 double album. It just gave me that type of feel. The second to last track, All the Time, finds Krit going back into funk territory. This record is dripping with that playlistic funk, almost as if Krit was channeling the Dungeon Family, Ball and G, and the Screwed Up Clique. It's a record that's made for the slabs, the ones riding candy paint, and the double cup pours. Now, despite all these vices, Krit is still on the quest to find true love. But sonically, this is one of my favorites from the album. Then this thing wraps up with More Than Roses. It has an ethereal instrumental with minimal percussions and some woodwinds. It's another romantic ballad that closes the project out on a cinematic but elegant note. Overall, I give this album a rating of a strong 3.5 mics. Despite my initial reluctance to his experimental approach, I did end up enjoying the album more with repeated listens. Although I had preferred a Krit album with more rapping and more aggressive up-tempo content, Krit was still able to really show us his evolution as a musician throughout. Like, in the past couple of years, Krit really leveled up on his skills as a singer and as a producer who can incorporate live instruments really well. I just hope that his next project will be a little more straightforward and bar heavy. That being said, Digital Roses is a cool alternative if you want a break from rapping and if you like riding around to the sounds of smooth, soulful, and sultry funk. To keep it a buck, this album might not be for everyone, but it's still a good project that you should check out if you are a fan of Krit and if you do enjoy those Andre 3000s vibes. My favorite tracks include South Side of the Moon, Show You Right, Road Clean, Come Out to Play, Just For You, Generational Weighed Down, and All the Time. Let me know what you thought about this album in the comment section below. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and please subscribe. As always, it's peace and blessings. Big K.R.I.T. Digital Roses Don't Die. 1.